In this video, we're going to look at how to query multiple tables within the GA4 BigQuery export. So as we saw in previous videos, the data in the export is divided into individual daily tables. That means to query more than one table at a time, we need to make use of a wildcard. So just as a refresher, this is how the structure of the table looks. And up at the top here, we have a drop-down menu from which we can select different tables to view the data for those individually. So if we want to query just one table, we just reference the name of that table directly. So here we're running a query against the table for the 31st of January 2021. So when I run that now, we should be returned just one row which contains a count of all of the events contained within that table. Now, if I want to query all tables within the dataset, I can just very easily replace this date part with a star. And now when I run it, we should receive one row per table. You can see here at the bottom there are 92 dates. You might want to be a little bit more specific, so how about we query all of the tables from 2021? Now we can see we've only returned 31 rows. We could query all of the tables from January 2021 between the 1st and the 9th. So I'll add an extra 0 there and run that. And now we have just 9 tables, which if we order by date, we'll see run from the 1st to the 9th of January. So essentially all the wildcard does is it will match against all of the text that comes before it, and it doesn't matter what comes after it, it will include that in the query. Now you might have noticed as we were writing those queries that up here in the top right, the amount of data we were querying was increasing. So you can see here, if we were only going to query against one individual table, it's only going to process 258 kilobytes of data. If we increase that to all of the tables from 2021, it's now got to process 11 megabytes of data. And if we increase that to query all of the tables, it's now got to process 40 megabytes. So from that, you can see that by using that wildcard, we're including more data in the query, which is what you would expect because we are including more tables in the from clause. Now, chances are you're probably going to want to be more specific about what you query rather than querying all the tables for a specific year or month or whatever. You'll probably want to query a range of dates. So that's where the table suffix parameter comes in. So you can see here we're still using the star wildcard. We've removed all of the date section at this point, and so that when we use the table suffix parameter, we can specify a range of dates in order to limit our query to those dates. So here I am querying where the table suffix is between the 1st of January 2021 and the 10th of January 2021. And you can see now our query has returned all of the data for the tables between those dates. You might also want to use dynamic dates. So rather than setting specific dates, perhaps you want to query data for the last week. So here I'm specifying a range of dates based on an offset from the current date. To do that, we use the date subtract command. So it's taking the current date and then subtracting 7 days. And similarly taking the current date and subtracting 1 day. So it's going to return all of the data for the tables that fall into that range of dates. I'm running this today on the 27th of January 2024, so we can see it has included the last 7 days, excluding today. And you might want to use a combination of static and dynamic dates. So in this example now, we are going to query all of the data from the 1st of January 2024 through to yesterday. And now you see we've got 25 rows returned, and that includes all of the data from 1st of January right through to the 26th of January yesterday. And the final thing I'll demonstrate today is how to use variables. So here you can see at the top on line 1 and 2 we've declared two variables, the start date and the end date, and we are setting those to a string which we've defined here. So the start date I've defined as the 10th of January, and the end date I've defined as the 15th of January. So further on down in the query, I can refer to those variables in order to define the date range that we want to query. So here I've specified where table suffix between start date and end date. And when we run that now, we should see that we get the data returned just for the dates that we had specified at the top. After you run that query, you will have to click the View Results, and it will then show you here the data at the bottom. So variables can be really useful for long, complex queries where you perhaps are referencing lots of different tables, and rather than have to specify the dates multiple times and then have to potentially update them multiple times each time that you want to change, you can just specify them once at the top, and you can refer to those throughout the query as many times as needed. Come back next time and I'll show you some tips and tricks for how to work with dates and times. See you.